start with two.
Here we go.
That's true.
All right, you're on, babe.
And when these two showed up, I thought, okay, five's a crowd.
Hey, we got something. And it's funny, you know, this wouldn't even be my smallest show. The smallest show I ever did was in Terre Haute.
Was that when you were crying into the microphone?
Yeah, that was a show that I was apparently booked that nobody told me about, so I didn't get a chance to promote it. And before the show, I'll tell the story. Screw it. It's not like we got like a big line here.
Fuck yeah.
I'm filming it. I'm filming it just so you know.
It was my buddy Jimmy and I. Turns out they wanted to do another poetry night at this place I used to hang out at all the time called Zamar's. And nobody told me about it until the night of the show. And I'm like, well, what time? Oh, 9 o'clock. All right, cool. So Jimmy and I started off at this place called Jenny's, and they used to have what we called power mugs, which were like these frozen glass quart mugs of beer. We had like 3 of those. And we get to Zamar's. Nobody's there. I'm like, well, we'll wait for people to show up, and we get a pitcher of beer. Nobody shows up. Finally, after half an hour, the bartender's like, dude, you got to get up there. Okay, so I was the only poet that showed up. It was supposed to be a big poetry night thing. Nobody told anybody, except me. I go up there carrying pitcher number 2. I did the entire show. It was an hour-and-a-half performance. By the end of it, I'm just kind of slurring syllables into a microphone. And there were 3 drunks and the sound guy.
3 what?
3 drunks and the sound guy.
Right?
That witnessed the worst performance of my career.
You know, I'm like that. You don't have anybody out there, it's hard to perform.
That's true. That's true. So now the funny thing is, the following night, I had a show that I was already told about. It was there at Coffee Grounds, which unfortunately is no longer around. That's actually the venue where I really started as a poet. I was headlining there, and the place was fucking packed. And I had a great show.
It was a good time.
So, yin and yang, the balance of life, something philosophical, I don't know.
I had a crowd, probably 1 person less than this. I had one that was just 4 people.
Yeah. So we'll.
This is not my smallest crowd.
No.
I mean, sometimes I make YouTube videos of me like just talking that are like 2 hours long, and like 2 people ever have watched them.
That's true. So, all right. Well, since there's not a lot of people here, I guess I can do 2 sets.
You do as much as you want to do.
Don't encourage me, Jeff. I won't shut up.
We'll be here all night.
But I'll do some originals and then I'll do some covers later. This is old shit.
Old shit.
Old shit.
This is called Mask. There it is, sitting in an old case, half forgotten about behind the glass shells and cigars. There it is, laying on dusty, darkened velvet, half eaten by weasels, half disintegrated by vats of grain. It smells of old screams and dried tears. It smells of old amber rivers and dusty chains. It smells of old shadows and remembered fears. I reach out my scarred and callous hand. It still feels like 1,000 needles. It still feels like a loaded gun. It still feels like 1,000 sobbing nights. Is it the image you want, even with its holes and rips? Is it the image you want, even though I've been told times have changed? Is it the image you want, even if it killed my soul? You don't know what you're asking of me. The time is long past when I can wear it.
Is that yours?
Yeah. This is all. Yeah, I'm on. The first set will be all original, and then I'll do some covers here in a bit.
We listened to a little bit of "Ode to My Cock."
Lament for the Death of My Cock. Yep. Morrison. Yes. I might do some Morrison tonight. All right. Now, an old friend of mine really liked this one. This is also old shit.
Old shit.
I don't have any new shit tonight. I'm sorry.
You want to take a shit? It's great. Some of it.
This is.
God.
As an old buddy of mine really liked this one. As you can see, they're not here right now, but they always dug this one. This is Machines of God. Have you ever had unkind thoughts about? I saw the beautiful photos tacked on the walls, poetry taken out of time and place, bleeding thickly, syrup staining the rough wood. Call for delivery in my own barren room. No time between envelopes, pacing the scorched stone walls. It's like this. Every decision we make as a team is carefully considered and well thought out, and we expect you guys to back us up. Love is a luxury I can't afford to spend on. My account was emptied so I could feel useful. The fiery-eyed cat sent all the way from Chicago sat in lonely darkness waiting for her time to prowl. Have you ever had unkind thoughts? Do you still have the files for one of us? Are you one of us? A minister I knew from Amnesia Lane told me he could never forgive the sins of the plaster gods. I was shown 2 high-contrast black and white photographs, long-timers laying in the dirt road. It was truly a professional shot. Have you ever had thoughts? Damn, I went dark tonight. Shit. That's okay. All right, well, this one's not really dark. Actually, I really like this one. I think I've done this one fairly recently. Well, I know I did it at the show in Zionsville, which that show was a time. The set itself was fine. I mean, I did a good set. Everybody was like, "Yeah, that's great, man." But their feature was our state poet laureate. I forget his name. Tells you how memorable he was.
It was like if milquetoast had legs.
He gets up there in a charcoal gray suit with a black tie, stands on either side of the podium and reads his verse like he's reading from the fucking phone book. I'm like, it's poetry, man. Put some life into it. Make it rock and roll. God. You know. When you think those old guys just did that, you think Lord Byron just got up there and just blah, blah, blah. Hell no. He was probably drunk whenever he read, and it probably sounded great. So, anyway, I know I did. I think I did this piece at the Zionsville show, but I don't think I've done it here
Recently.
this year. But this has always been one of my favorite pieces to do live. This is Born Again. Just got an itch to scratch, honey, flashing a killer grin. I was scratching, ripping the flesh off my arms, legs, chest, face, exposing tendons, veins, arteries, bone, preparing for new skin. New skin to be shaped and molded by a ghost from what seems like a lifetime ago. The only spirit I would trust to recreate me. Recreation under the dim stage lights, hot injection molded creation. Christened with a new identity, this is take 2, the real deal. Just got an itch to scratch, honey, flashing a killer grin. I had spent a decade watching such creations be born and then disappear. Forgotten cigarette smoke near the bar. Sometimes they came back if the stars aligned right, and others stayed on for eternity. I was experiencing what it was to be born again. Terror shooting straight up my line, a rush hit I haven't felt since that day in Chicago nearly a decade ago. Mold my new flesh. I am ready. Just got an itch to scratch, honey, flashing a killer grin, laying on my side, sweating in a laboratory upstairs, fans circulating the stale air of creative sweat and cheap smoke being built from the face down. My skull stretched with liquid and powder canvas by the master, chest constrained, expanded, factory-hardened legs covered in blackness, calloused feet encased in tattered laces and leather for lack of perfection. Just got an itch to scratch, honey, flashing a killer grin. I am in the waiting room, the master waiting for the final spark to bring me to life. All that remains of me is the eyes, twitching with overstretched nerves, new flesh pumping its way through my tense veins and tendons. Waiting for the right spark to kick, waiting. The others line up for the same old song and dance, been there, done that, know what they're doing. I am waiting. Just got an itch to scratch, honey, flashing a killer grin, lights up and the voice of God thundering from the booth. It is time. I stumble out on my tattered laces and leather, a new child, not quite getting the balance. I stumble out trying to kick the spark. God, hell, just trying to kick the spark. It sputters a bit, crackles and stutters. I'd pick up a couple of tattered bills and take solace in the fact I didn't vomit up my new flesh. Just got an itch to scratch, honey, flashing a killer grin, lights up and the voice of God thundering from the booth. It is time, one last chance. On this sweaty night to kick the right spark, I breathe deep, inhaling my new flesh, soaking it in my lungs. I sway and groove, yes, I sway and groove, yes. Strutting in the dark lights of new life, that spark kicks right up the powder and liquid flesh in my spine. I am here, I am new, I have been reborn. My flesh turns back to concrete and plastic. I am raw and naked, eyes moving up and down from too much caffeine and too little sleep. The hangover of afterbirth is a Monday morning hell. Just got an itch to scratch, honey, flashing a killer grin. Thank you. I'll come back for another round.